Code of Conduct for the Followers of the Imams. Majlis 10. Submission to the Decision of the Imam. God says, obey God, obey the Prophet, and obey your spiritual leaders. I swear by your Lord, they cannot become mu'mins unless they refer their disputes to you and are perfectly satisfied with your decision, and unless they submit to the utmost limit. Submission implies obedience to God externally and internally, and obedience to God is linked with the obedience to the Prophet and to the Imams. Accordingly, it is the duty of every mu'min to submit entirely to the Imams. He should act strictly according to their instructions. He should have implicit faith in them, and should give expression to it openly and in secret. It matters little whether he finds their instructions agreeable to him or not. It matters little whether he understands their significance or not. He should persevere in carrying them out and disciplining his mind in this direction. The time is sure to come when he will find agreeable what looks disagreeable to him now, when the significance of what he fails to understand now will ultimately dawn on his mind. If he does not attain to the true significance, he will realize at least the significance of his submission, and will admit his inability, his ignorance, and his incompetence to arrive at the real meaning of the instruction. He will realize that the Imams are always in the right. If he finds that he is punished by the Imam unnecessarily, or is rewarded by them for something for which he thinks that he deserves no such reward, then he should know for certain that he is too dull to understand these things. The Imams understand them best, for they see things by the light of God and issue orders according to his instructions. Their decisions are the decisions of God. Most of the people who are on a wrong track do not realize that they are in the wrong. They think that they are on the right side. God says about such people, they think that they are right, but they are liars. When it is said to them, do not create trouble on earth, they say, we are peacemakers. They are really mischief mongers, but they do not know it. This is a stiff chapter. It is difficult to understand its contents, and it is still more difficult to retain them. It is a test for the intelligence of the followers, and their position before the Imams varies according to their capacity to grasp the sum and substance of this chapter. Moses, greetings be on him, was put to a similar test by a divine agent when he wanted to keep company with him. It is said that a certain person from Syria visited Ibn Abbas and asked him to let him know how Ali behaved at the battlefields. Ibn Abbas said in reply, ask him about something which concerns you. The Syrian said, I have not come a long way off from Syria to ask you to explain to me what is Hajj or Umrah. I have come to ask you to enlighten me with the behavior of Ali at the battlefield. Ibn Abbas replied, the knowledge of a divine being is so subtle and so deep that very few can fathom it. It is beyond the depth of ordinary human beings. Ali is to you what the divine agent was to Moses. Let me remind you of what God said to Moses when he expressed his anxiety to see him. God said, O Moses, I have chosen you above the people by giving you my message and communicating with you. Take what I have given you and thank me for that. We have written for him on the tablets advice on everything in detail. Moses thought that he had attained to the utmost limit of divine knowledge. you also imagine that your learned divines have attained to the same limits. They have put you on a wrong track by claiming this. God proved to Moses his incompetency by putting him to test through the divine agent. Thus, when the divine agent made a hole in the boat knowingly, his action pleased God, but displeased Moses because of his ignorance. Similarly, when the divine agent killed the boy knowingly, his action was liked by God, but disliked by Moses. His repairing of the wall was another mysterious act, which was liked by God, but disliked by Moses. Ultimately, Moses realized his ignorance and the wisdom of the divine agent when the latter explained all this to him and informed him of the mysteries of his actions. All this is mentioned by God in his holy book. In short, Ibn Abbas ultimately answered the question of the Syrian and explained everything to him to his satisfaction. It would have been much better if the Syrian had left everything to Ali and would not have persisted in interfering with his affairs and trying to find fault with him. It was as necessary for him to submit to Ali as it was for Moses to submit to the divine agent. The Muslims are unanimously of the opinion that it is not permissible to any one of us, and it does not behove us that we should make inquiries about or disprove of what the Prophet says or does. It is our duty to accept with readiness what we receive from him. God says, "Do what the Prophet commands you to do, and do not do what he prohibits you from doing." By your Lord, they are not mu'mins unless they refer their disputes to you, and are entirely satisfied with your decisions, and they submit to you to the fullest extent. These verses of God make it clear to us that those who do not submit to the Prophet are not mu'mins. Submission is not to be mistaken for mere lip profession of obedience. It is based on conviction. It is this kind of submission to the Imams that is enjoined on the mu'mins. We have no right to probe into their affairs. We are not allowed to disapprove of anything that they do. We have to show our satisfaction openly and in secret by faith and conviction, in words and in our actions. For God has linked our obedience to the Imams with our obedience to the Prophet, and he has made them his vice-regents on earth after the Prophet. It is a hard task for the mu'mins. The more they progress in the pursuit of this course of submission, the more they rise in the estimation of God and the Imams. Imam Jafar, peace be on him, says, "No one can understand the nature of our affairs excepting the angels who are within the closest proximity to God, the prophets, ourselves, or those devotees of God whose hearts have been illumined by him." It is necessary for the followers of the Imams in particular, and the people in general, that they should discipline their minds and train themselves to act to the satisfaction of God. They should be devoted to him, to the Prophet, and to the Imams from his progeny. They should be loyal to them and pay them the amanat which God has deposited with us for them. This payment is a bounden duty on us. We should always be on our guard to see that we do not lower ourselves in the estimation of the Imams. We should never do anything which is disliked by them or is disagreeable to them. If we find that we have been very steady in loyalty to the Imams by strictly abiding by the rules and regulations prescribed by them and by discharging all our obligations to them, if we feel within the heart of our hearts that we have done nothing which savours of disapproval of God and the Imams, If, with all this, something befalls us from God or from the Imams in the form of a punishment or trial, and if we find this to be the worst of calamities from our point of view, let us not show the slightest sign of discontent by our outward behaviour or by the depression of our hearts. We should submit to this act of God and of the Imams and bear it with strength. We should show by our actions, by our faith, and by our intentions that we are not in the least disheartened by it. We should have the courage of conviction to realise that it is a fair deal by God and that it is the correct attitude of the Imams to us. We must be convinced that we must be deserving of this punishment, or even of much more than that. Let us feel certain that what God and the Imams have forgiven us for is much more than what they have punished us for. O Mu'mins, you must know that God does not inflict punishment through the Imams on any one unless he finds him to be deserving of it. He never gets anything done by the Imams which he does not like. If any one of you is punished in this world, let him thank God for inflicting the punishment on him here and not postponing it until the next world. The punishment in the next world will be more severe and will last longer. Besides, he punishes us in this world as he puts his wasis and safis to trial and tribulations. He rewards his enemies for their good actions here, so that on the day of judgment his friends should not suffer and his enemies should not receive the reward there. We know how often God has made the prophets suffer in this world for their minor shortcomings, for which people in general are never chastised here. In many instances, they did not know why they were made to suffer. The Imams have mentioned to us the causes which were responsible for the trials to which Solomon, Ayub, Jacob were put. These causes were minor shortcomings on their part. If I were to give these things in detail, the matter will prolong and will exceed the limits of this book. Had the Imams not mentioned to us these causes, we should have never known why these prophets were put to such severe tests. Similarly, the Mu'mins are made to suffer in this world, and very often they do not know the causes of their sufferings. God says, whatever calamity befalls you is the result of your own doings. A greater part of your faults has already been forgiven by God. The Prophet says, whatever you have been saved from is more than what you suffer. Once people said to the Prophet, according to the Quranic verse, that he who does evil will be requited for it, if we are punished in the next world for every wrong thing that we do here, we shall be ruined. The Prophet said in reply, it is not as you think. Do you not suffer in this world in one way or the other? Do you not ail? Are you not put to grief? Does not calamity befall you? They said, yes, O the Prophet of God. He said, yes, this is the way in which you are requited here. In one of the traditions, it is mentioned that a certain person went on a pilgrimage. When he was performing the circuit of the Kaaba, he was attracted by a good-looking woman. He touched her with evil intentions. The woman shouted, who is that person who is touching me in this sacred place? May God cut off his hands. The man left for Mina and spent the night there in his tent. In the middle of the night, someone shouted that a thief had run away with some of the belongings of the Hajis. He and his friends came out in the dark in search of the thief. The Haji who had offended the woman woke up and came out to see what had happened. He happened to fall suddenly upon the thief, who threw the belongings at his face and ran away. When the people found the stolen property in his hands, he informed them of what had happened, but they did not believe it. They said, "None but you are the thief." They took him to the king, and those who had seen the things in his hands gave evidence against him. The king ordered his hands to be cut off. The fellow realized that this was the punishment for his misbehavior to the woman on the occasion of his circuit of the Kaaba. Had the culprit met with this punishment after a long time, he would never have realized that it was the result of his own doings. On the same lines, if one of you is meted out a punishment by God or by the Imams, and he thinks that he is innocent in the matter, let him realize that it is not the punishment for the immediate sin for which he is taken to task, and of which he thinks he is innocent, but for some other sin of which he is not aware. God forgives what he likes to forgive from our sins, and he neither punishes us here, nor will he punish us in the next world. On the other hand, he punishes us here for our sins for which he likes to punish us, and postpones the punishment for those for which he does not like to punish us here. He has got always some reason for punishing us, and we are always indebted to him for his mercy on us. If God forgives the sins of somebody and secures from him punishment in this world and the next, this is the most perfect form of his forgiveness and the greatest of his blessings. If he punishes someone here, then let him realize that God will lighten his punishment in the next world. If he is punished in the next world, then let him realize that he deserves the punishment. Just and fair are the ways of God.